Yeah, I'm definitely with you on the ripping the band-aid off part of it. Um, and that's how we're gonna start. So welcome to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake and I over our uh, I could just say lives, and as far as the show goes, and as far as us talking to each other goes, we are definitely bad news first people, and that's how we're gonna
Yeah.
start today's show. So we're gonna hit the intro, and we're gonna start with Badgers football, which is definitely gonna be the least fun thing to talk about, but got to do it. So here we go.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so here we go. We're gonna start with Badgers football, and it's gonna be, like I said, the bad news first. So we're gonna jump into it, and I'll start with Mike. Mike, what stood out to you from the Badgers defense against Nebraska?
Hold on. I have to point something out real quick. You know what, Tyler? You mock Dak Prescott so much from last year's playoff loss that you just say it on command now. You just say, "Here we go," with every episode. I don't know if you noticed that, but I hear that all the time now. Sorry, I had to point that out. Anyways, let's talk about the Badgers defense here. Go ahead, Mike.
Like kind of what Tyler said. We're gonna rip the band-aid off this one because,
Yeah.
where to start. I mean, we gave up 473 total yards of offense to a very mediocre program, a very mediocre offense. But you know what? They're more mediocre than what we are right now. So here we are. This is the first time the Badgers have lost 4 straight games since the year 2008. That's another part of it. It's only the second time in the series versus Nebraska that Wisconsin has given up 24 points or more as well. So that is another kick to the you know what. Nebraska scored on the last 6 drives of this game.
Oof.
The last 6. We could not stop the bleeding at all whatsoever. First and foremost, I mean, they established a run. I'm gonna let you guys talk about that portion, but that more so led to Dylan Raiola look like an All-American quarterback for the most part. 28 of 38, 293 yards and 1 touchdown. Couldn't really do much better from his perspective. QBR of 84.6. So he had a fantastic day. I really don't have much to say in the secondary because the secondary definitely had its moments where it did not, do so hot. I mean, again, I think it was more so because we really gave up the run pretty easily. It was at Nebraska basically got whatever they wanted on the ground at will. So, I mean, Austin Brown, he had 10 total tackles, did decent. We missed Hunter Wohler too. That was a big call out.
Yeah.
Clearly. Preston Zachman, 8 total tackles. Xavier Lucas, he had his highest total amount of tackles, career high with 7. Rico had 3 total tackles, but collectively, I mean, the secondary definitely had its moments where it got beat. I'm not going to call out one person. I'm calling out the whole secondary because I really, for the most part, I can't recall like many good moments just with the defense as a whole, with the exception of the turnover. Again, I'm going to let you guys talk about that, but one of the most concerning thing about this, and I don't know if you can give this, it's a shot at the coaching, it's a shot at the players, but I mean, this is the second time this has happened this year where the defense I'm going to call it the defense specifically on this, where it's been a complete letdown after coming off big, highly emotional games against Penn State, against Oregon. You give a 42 at Iowa, which is unprecedented in my view. And then we go play Nebraska, which is a trophy game. We're like 11-1 or 12-1 all time in this series, and it was another dud. So going back to how do we prep going into these next games following these emotional losses, right? Are the players just not really locked in? Is it kind of on this coaching staff with getting these guys ready to go play the next week? It's something that I am kind of concerned going forward. We did see this last year as well against Ohio State as well, when we played them pretty damn well, right? And then the rest of the year, you got losses to, Indiana, Northwestern, programs that we should beat. And it's happening again this year where we come out flat after those big time games. And I'm specifically calling out the defense because offense, we scored enough points to win this game, as far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
Going forward, I really am curious to see how the staff is going to address this issue going forward, because it has been a problem showing up the following week after coming off of these big games in which the defense has played well. So that's my piece with that.
So going into the linebackers, I want to be able to brag about Christian Allegro being my dark horse, like breakout for the linebacking core, but it's not something that you want to be like, oh yeah, great, but also the Badgers are 5-6 and need to win next week or this week to keep their bowl streak alive. So like it's kind of a little bit of a give and take where it's like, yes, I can still say that I was right about something, but it's overall I would still rather the team be doing well than my simple prediction. Looking at it, the run game, which Mike, you alluded to already, not a great day for the Badgers defense. If you look at the run stops, Christian Allegro and Austin Brown were both tied with 3. But the top 4 players in run stops was Christian Allegro and then 3 defensive backs.
That's not good.
That's not a good recipe.
No.
Don't love that. I will say, I think Jake Chaney over the last probably 2 or 3 weeks has been getting better. I'm seeing more of what I liked from Jake Chaney last year that made him my defensive breakout candidate for this year. So I'm still good with where Jake Chaney's at. So I like Jake Chaney, and I like what Christian Allegro is giving the Badgers. They just need more depth in the linebacker room, is how I feel. And Mike, I know you're a big Tackett Curtis guy, and he's been dealing with some injuries. But that'll be definitely something that he's going to be a big part of the future. So I'm not going to, throw a fit about it like we didn't get to have enough Tackett Curtis, because he's going to be here for the long haul. So get to look forward to him at least.
Tyler, to your point on that, I'll be the first to admit, specifically on this last game, he did get enough. He did get some playing time, and I was a little there was some good and there was some bad with that. So I'm hoping maybe it's just a health issue going into the offseason, because like you said, I do very much expect him to be a part of this linebacker rotation going forward.
Yep.
It's got to be better though. I'll be the first to admit that with him, especially with rewatching this game, and there's a lot that needs to be addressed on his end too. So I'm the first to admit that.
He played 38 snaps. Looking at the previous 4 games, he played a total of 19. So he played twice as many snaps this week as he did in the previous 4 games. So again, Tackett Curtis is going to be a large piece of the future, and we'll talk about the future a little bit more when we get into the preview. But just as far as the linebackers go, I just want to say one more thing on Jake Chaney. Another week, another big legal hit by Jake Chaney to put a big hit, and it actually got the Badgers an interception / fumble, however they ended up calling it or scoring it. But Jake Chaney, like I said, Jake Chaney, I'm relatively pleased with, and Christian Allegro as well. Just need to build that room out a little bit. Jake, how did you feel about the D-line?
Yeah.
Like you said, after this, it's all wins. So,
dude, this team, this defense, this defensive front is so Jekyll and Hyde, man.
Yeah.
1 week, it looks like we have some playmakers brewing, right? They're attacking gaps, they're attacking players, they're getting a push up front, and then it's like they have a hangover from playing good against top teams, and you got 2 teams in Iowa and Nebraska, which you're on their level.
Yeah, they're peers.
You want to talk about lack of talent versus those other teams? You have the same or better talent than the other 2 teams.
Yeah.
So for you to get fucking manhandled, I'm sorry if you don't like cussing. I might cuss a little bit. If you cannot get fucking manhandled like this, that was honestly disrespectful what they were doing to you. And I talked last week when I talked about the D-line about slowing down the run game. Because they like to do a lot of RPO stuff. They just hand the ball and do a lot of dives, a lot of zone run scheme stuff. And we needed the D-line to step up and take some of that stuff away. And I'm just going to be honest with you. This is what I wrote down. Lack of ability to read and react. Lack of ability to get off blocks. And lack of ability to just plain out make a goddamn play. That's what I wrote down in all caps. I didn't write a single freaking number down. Because it didn't matter what the numbers were. Because when I watch with my eyes, and I watch you get manhandled for 2.5 quarters and put on your ass, that's embarrassing. Have some pride, man. Are you kidding me?
And we got James Thompson back this week.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he should have been playing. I think I have a hunch that we're kind of like in the like space where he might be medically good to go, but I can pretty much guarantee with that pec injury that he had, I think it's more so the lines of, this is the only guy we have left that we can play. That's just my view.
I don't know. When I was listening to him,
ready for the D1, like just ready for the college game. That's just I have a hunch that that's what it might be.
I felt more like listening to him talk about it, they told him this was going to be like a 4 to 6 to 8 month injury. And they're like 3 if you do it right. It felt to me like he was like, no, I'm going to attack this like a psycho and I'm going to be back out there in 3 months. That's how I felt.
Okay.
That's cool, but
I respect that if that's the mindset that he took and the work that he put in. He wanted to be back out there. He loves playing football. Clearly, if that's the mindset that he took upon, attacking this obviously catastrophic injury that really hurt our defensive line more than people realize, I think. Yeah. But just plain out, dude.
There's a lot of work.
I don't give a shit about stars. I really don't. At the end of the day, you can either play or you can not play. At the end of the day, you come ready to work, you strap your damn helmet on, you strap your pads on, and you're ready to do the dirty work. Because when you play on the offensive line and defensive line, that's the kind of player you are. You do the dirty work. You may not get name recognition. They may not call you out and celebrate you. There's people that do player of the games and MVPs and stuff like that. You may not be that guy. But at the end of the day, if you do your job right up front, you're setting somebody else up for success to get that honor. And I promise you, your coaches are watching you, and they're going to give you the praise that you deserve. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this defensive line is not doing that on a consistent basis. The consistency thing, the word consistency, is the biggest problem with the Wisconsin Badgers football team this year.
I strongly agree, to be honest. I strongly agree. Consistency is absolutely.
You can play up to Penn State. You can play up to Oregon, but you get mollywopped by Iowa and Nebraska? Give me a break, dude.
Not to mention, absolutely destroying Purdue, Rutgers, and Northwestern.
See, that's the thing that really makes people mad and irks them, is they look so good on that 3-game win streak. You have a tough loss. That was a tough loss to Penn State. They felt like they could have won that game. Yep. That doesn't mean you just lay down for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry, man. I was having a hard time putting my notes together. I waited till the last possible minute to put these together.
I'm just gonna switch you to special teams right away because it's gonna be the same tone.
No.
I'm not even gonna talk about Valkos. 2 for 2 on extra points. Good job. Bertram's 2 punts, 99 yards, 56 long, 1 inside the 20. He had 1 return for 9 yards. He had 3.86 average hang time. I don't want to talk about this game. I don't want to talk about this game. I'm just going to skip over some stuff. Vinny, 2 for 64, 44 long on a kick return. He also had 1 punt return for 9 yards, and Cade had 3 returns for 65 yards and a 32-yard long. So that's all I'm going to say. Because my face is getting warm.
Yeah, there was some rough things in there, some misses. I texted you guys at halftime, and I'm like, well, I guess the fun thing about this is that in the second half we can go for more 4th downs.
Yep.
That's what it's going to skew it towards. It's going to be like, all right, we're at a 45-yard field goal on 4th and 4. Now we're going to keep the offense out there a little bit more. So maybe that energizes the offense a little bit when we get to Minnesota. But Mike, how did you feel about the run game?
I guess to start, I mean, I mentioned it before, 25 points scored against Nebraska. This is a game that we should have won. I'll say the offense collectively, I'm going to say that first. They played well enough overall. Should have won. We definitely should have won this game, especially with all the struggles we've had this year offensively. I felt like this is a game that could have been won. I know that you guys are going to talk about, Braden Locke and receivers and all that, but he played well enough to win this game. I'm going to say that. I'll say that first and foremost, and then now I'm going to get into running backs. But the bright spot was, Darian Dupree out of the two. This is also going to be my weekly post of saying I am very, very frustrated that Katie Akamelli, once again, wasn't in the running back room in this game. He is as good as gone after this season. It's going to be unfortunate to see him in another uniform because I think he can flat out play. But, here we are. So, anyway, Darian Dupree, he had damn near 80 all-purpose yards. He looked good. He had a nice 32-yard run during the game. 8 carries, 63 yards. He got 2 catches for 14 yards. So definitely showing, again, these flashes. There's a reason why he's clearly our RB2 and has been for a while now. It's going to be him and I don't want to assume everything, but Dylan Jones leading the running back room next year. It's going to be a nice, hopefully, Thunder Lightning combo that, we can get on board with. So looking forward to seeing that for the foreseeable future. Tommy Walker kind of pretty much held in check, I guess, for the most part. 14 carries, 55 yards. He had 1 19-yard run throughout the day. Nebraska did a decent job, I think, at least somewhat containing the run. 4.6 yards a carry overall. The running back room wasn't necessarily the story of this game offensively, but kudos to the other players involved. But I'll just say I'm looking forward to seeing what, especially a guy like Dupree can bring to the program in the future.
For sure. And you said it multiple times. If they score the 25 points, they should be able to win. And it's like if we had the Nebraska game offense against Oregon, we probably win that game. And if we had the Oregon game defense against Nebraska, we probably win that game. And that's where Jake's point on consistency really comes into play. And I couldn't agree more that consistency is the biggest issue this year.
Yeah.
Looking at the passing game, this might have been Braden Locke's best game. As far as passing the ball goes, I mean, the interception that he had, I don't think was his fault. He was 20 of 30, so he completed 66.7% of his passes with 2 drops. So you could call him 22 of 30 if you wanted to. He threw 3 touchdowns, threw a beautiful jump ball to Bryson Green in the end zone.
Yeah, he did.
And he was 3 for 4 on 20-plus yard passes and threw 2 touchdowns in that area. His passer rating from 20-plus, 156.3.
Damn.
He was slinging the deep ball. He was slinging it. If this offense plays against Oregon, they win. They beat the number 1 team in the country.
Kudos to Nate Letton calling this type of game. The new play caller, I guess you could say.
It's a bummer. It is what it is. And, at the end of the day, we'll discuss what. But, if you just look at the last 2 weeks, you can play. Obviously, you don't want to just sit and play the what if game. But like I said, this week's offense, last week is a dub. Last week's defense and this week's offense is a dub. And it's just, it kind of changes the outlook for the perception of the direction that Badgers football is heading.
Yep.
If we're in a situation where the Badgers are 7-4 instead of 5-6, like you're feeling pretty okay about that, even with still needing to find a new offensive coordinator. And obviously having a big, big, big upset under your belt.
Right.
So, I don't know. It is what it is. Jake, how did you feel about the O-line?
Honestly, I like our O-line this year. Our O-line's been very good, except for the case of one guy who plays right tackle. named Mulman. He's had a rough go of it over the last probably, I'll say, 3 weeks. You could stretch it out to a month if you wanted to. No penalties again from the offensive line, 0 sacks, 1 hit and 1 hurry, both from Mulman. They gave up 6 pressures, 2 of them from Mulman. Everybody in the offensive line had a hurry except Joe Huber. Joe Huber's probably going to be an NFL pro. He'll be the next Badger draft in the 4th or 5th round. He's good at pulling. He's got a good strong base, good hands. He gets a little high when he pulls sometimes. That's why he's not as devastating as he is other times. But other than being a little bit high on pulls, he is a good NFL backup right guard, in my opinion. I think he'll be a good guard in the NFL. He could develop into a starter. He's a Badger. The offensive line is good. I have no issues with the offensive line, which is the craziest thing for an offense that is so inconsistent. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, dude. We run the ball well. We have good run-to-pass ratio, and the offensive line is good. We should be putting up 30 points a game.
You know what it is, though? You know what it is? They're playing with a backup.
This team makes no sense, and it hurts my head. Nothing about this makes sense.
Hey, okay. Let's take a step back, and we can. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on the offensive line?
No, I'm just dumb.
Okay, so let's just do this just to take a step back as we move into this. And last week we switched this up, so I'm gonna go into the defense first. But we're seeing all of these pieces just not quite fitting in the puzzle right as of right now.
That's fair.
I think what it does is it doesn't necessarily even have to be hope. It just has to be able to think about it as, okay, we have a bunch of these pieces. We have some of the right pieces. We have some of the wrong pieces, but we know what the picture is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you dump out a puzzle that just has a plain cardboard box on the outside but doesn't have the picture on it, but you have enough pieces to it that you can tell what the picture is supposed to be.
That's fair.
It's a really weird analogy that I just kind of threw together, but that's kind of how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, looking at the linebackers just going into against Minnesota on Friday, like, I would just like to see Chaney and Allegro keep doing their thing. I'd like Aaron Witt to be a little more consistent. It's like once every 3 games he has a splash play, and then you don't hear about him.
Yeah.
If Tackett Curtis plays more, this is the final week of the season, of the regular season. If they win, they get a bowl game. If they lose, they don't. So there is definitely something to play for besides the axe. So however the coaching staff is going to be viewing this, whether they're looking at it as like preseason games for 2025, or if they're looking at it as let's end this season on a high note. I mean, we look at last week, I just said that Tackett Curtis played 38 snaps, which is more than he played the last 4 games. But I think there's going to be a mix. And it could just be on my part that I can't really tell what direction they're going to go because, again, that inconsistency. I can't tell if they're going to go full youth movement and they're going to give Darion Dupree more snaps than Tawi Walker, or that they're going to stick with the veterans to try to win this game to get a bowl game. It's a tough thing to try to gauge. So from the linebackers' perspective, the only question mark I really have is if Jaheim Thomas is going to play. He didn't play last week. But looking at it, we'll see. We'll just see who shows up to play. Honestly, it's kind of how I feel. So, Mike, I'll go to you on the secondary. What are you looking for against Minnesota?
Can't hear you, buddy.
Hold on.
Now I got you.
Now we're good?
Hear you. Yep.
That was weird. First and foremost is Hunter Wohler going to be back. He's one of the leaders.
You got like a ringing. Give yourself a second.
Yep.
How about this?
Much better.
Okay.
Oh, man, I feel like I'm in the same room as you.
First and foremost, is Hunter Wohler going to be back? That's one of your leaders on the defense. Clearly, we missed him last week. We just talked about it. We need it. We need him. I think he's our best player on defense. He might be our best player overall on this team. So I really want him back. He's a state guy. He respects the hell out of this rivalry. He had it. I think it was with an interview with Jeff Petrikis, or no, it was Paul Zine earlier in the year when they were playing Alabama, and he was talking about, oh, this is one of the biggest games of your career, right? He's like, oh no, it's big, but it's not the Axe. It's not the Axe game. So especially with an in-state guy who knows what this rivalry is all about, I think they're going to do everything they can to see. Hopefully he'll be able to go on Friday because he's heart and soul this week. So as far as schematics go, Minnesota's got a pretty healthy balance for the most part. But just talking receivers, they got a stud receiver who was highly recruited by Wisconsin back in the day during the Graham Mertz era. Daniel Jackson, he's got over 800 yards with three touchdowns. He's going to be a force for sure, a guy to watch. I expect a guy like Rico will probably be on him for the duration. And then they also have another dude, Eli Spencer, who's got 526 yards and 4 touchdowns as well. So, Minnesota's definitely got a healthy balance. They obviously got a stud running back. I'll let you guys talk about that. But I'm just looking for senior leadership. Hopefully Hunter Wohler can come back and, maybe get an interception or two because this team that we have as a team, we've lacked to get turnovers overall this year. And what better way to end the season on a high note and, get an interception or multiple turnovers in general. So I think that could be vital.
Yeah. And I think I've said this before that I think Tressel's job is safe, but if this game doesn't go well defensively, I think that could change.
Yes.
If you go, if the Badgers give up 40 again, you give up 16 to Oregon and then you give up 44 and 40, like that's not going to look good.
Yeah.
So I think the defense does need to have a strong showing this week. The offense, it is what it is. They're going to be looking for a new offensive coordinator. But, the defense, I think there is a little bit more opportunity for consistency than there is on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Jake, what are you looking for from the D-line?
Well, I talked about it before, and I'm going to say it again. They need more consistency. So, in terms of numbers, I'm going to give you some numbers this time. Minnesota is passing the ball at 54, damn near 55% of the time. That's 25th in the country. So they throw the ball a ton. So we're going to have to get some pressure on the quarterback. They rush the ball 45% of the time. It's 110th in the country. They throw the ball 32 times and run the ball 29 times if you wanted the hardcore numbers on that. Third down percentage, they're at 44%. And that's 27th in the country. In points per game, they only average 24. That's 84th in the country. We can hold them to under 20 points. This offense is containable.
Yep.
They don't run the ball like they used to early in the midget man days when they had Ibrahim there. But they throw the ball a little bit more. They like to do a lot of little check down stuff, like to do all that little cutesy stuff. So we're going to need to be on our P's and Q's, get some pressure on the quarterback, collapse the pocket from the inside, and then we're just going to need to tackle in space. That's what's going to need to happen to beat Minnesota and hold on to the Axe. Please, for the love of God, of everything that has happened this year, please hold on to the Axe, and I'll be okay.
I mean, they don't have Kaliak Manis anymore, so that opens up their quarterback room a lot.
Yeah,
that's true.
They actually have somebody who's capable. That's wild.
Somebody that can throw the ball farther than 10 yards.
Yeah.
So, Jake, are you looking for anything specific from special teams?
You guys are called special teams. You're not supposed to hurt us. You're supposed to be special. You're supposed to kick the ball from 50 and make it, and then everybody goes, oh, my God, that's cool. Because, I don't care what anybody says. When I still see somebody kick a 50-yard field goal, I'm like, yo, that's pretty badass, dude. That's, hard to do. That's, really far. If you put a normal person, all the people that complain online, you put a normal person. I mean, we see it on College Game Day all the time. They line them up for an extra point. What was that, a 33-yarder, right?
33 yards, yeah.
That's an extra point in the NFL. And you see these regular-ass kids go out there and shank the hell out of it.
And it only gets 4 yards off the ground.
Yeah, they're almost taking people's heads off and stuff.
Yeah.
Kicking from 50 is hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, just make your field goals. Make it if you make everything 40 to 49, you're a god. Seriously. Look at Brandon McManus for the Packers.
Yeah.
That's money from 40. You just be money from 40. Everything after that is just
gravy.
Awesome. I don't have to say anything about Bertram's in the return game. I'm just gonna go back to the well. We have nothing to lose. We really have nothing to lose. Take the damn ball out and have a nose for the end zone. Run until your legs stop. That's what we're gonna need to do. And Tyler, you alluded to it. I was gonna say something later about this basically being a preseason. Because I said a couple weeks ago talking about Fickle talking about that. You're fighting for your job, and in the age of college football that we're in, it's almost like NFL, right? Where these kids are getting paid and they can transfer and go to any team that they want. And they can play right away. In the NFL, when people have their contracts up and they're on bad teams, they play really, really hard because maybe they can get paid a little bit of money by a good team. It's the same mindset for these kids nowadays. You can get paid. You're not going to get paid NFL money, not every kid, but you can get paid and you can go to a good team next year and you can play on that good team. So put your best foot forward and let's go ball out.
All right, Mike, what are you looking for from the offense?
I'm curious to see that kind of you kind of alluded to it. If there's going to be more closer to a 50-50 ratio in the running back room this week, that the ship has sailed with Yak. Unfortunately, he's not going to. If he didn't get the ball this week, he's not getting the ball this upcoming week unless it's on special teams.
Yep.
Right.
Curious to see if there's officially now going to be a 50-50 ratio now and just creeping up a little more because Dupree looked great last week when he
really
got
did.
the ball.
Yeah.
He keeps showing flashes consistently on a weekly basis too, going for in the last month at least. So I'm curious to see what that ratio looks like against these guys. Minnesota's got a Cody Lindenberg stud linebacker, but he's all right. 90 total tackles on the year, 1 sack, 42 solo. But you go down the line, their next leading tacklers are DBs, safeties. So when I see that screams, hey, let's run the damn ball on these dudes. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what the ratio is more so with that running back room with carries.
Jake, what are you looking for from the offensive line?
Really, I only pointed out one person. I just need Malman to step up, and this offensive line is one of the best in the Big Ten. I firmly believe that. They open up pretty big holes for the running backs to run through. Mainly this year, that's Tawi Walker. Tawi Walker, when he gets a hole, and they've been much better in the zone blocking scheme. When he gets an opportunity and they open up a couple holes for him, Tawi Walker is dominated, and the Badgers' offense is a lot better off. They've done a good job giving Locke good pockets, even against premier pass rushers. I mean, there was really one game against Oregon where Oregon was just scheming up against Malman because they knew that he was the weak point. Now, I would like a little bit of an adjustment where we give him some help, give him some chips, give him some double teams on that side of the ball, but that's not the way that we wanted to do it. I would like a little bit more adjusting on that portion of it. And to me, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jake Renfro should be calling some of that stuff out, maybe and maybe helping with a little bit more leadership. He's the center. He's the one that sets up all the blocking assignments. Maybe if he could shift over and we could shift over a little bit, because let's be honest, we can't trust Braden Locke with that kind of stuff. The guy's already got his plate full, trying to run the offense the way that it is. Jake Renfro needs to step up a little bit more and help out with the protection plan if Malman is getting his ass beat, just to be quite frank. Other than that, they just need to do what they've been doing. The Minnesota defense, I almost said Michigan. The Minnesota defense is pretty good. They're in the 20s in some areas, in the 60s in some other areas, but it's nothing that I don't think the Badgers offense can overcome.
So I'm trying to find if there's any injury reports anywhere. Specifically because when we go into the passing game, I want to know if Will Pauling is going to play.
Right.
Will Pauling didn't play against Nebraska, and Bryson Green had his best game of the season, probably his best game as a Badger.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the start there. I can't find anything right now as far as injury report goes, which is unfortunate. But the other thing, as far as the passing game goes, I'm just going to go back to how I felt since the beginning of the season. Put the ball in Trutchka Kahuna's hands. That's what I want to see. Regardless of what this game ends up as far as the final score is concerned, axe, bowl, streak, all of that aside, what I want to see is I want to see more from the guys that are going to be here.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I don't want guys like Will Pauling to get the ball if he plays. Or, if it's Tucker Ashcraft or Riley Nowakowski, guys that are, possibly going to be potential transfer candidates. It's not that I don't want those guys to get the ball. But Tretch is a guy I'm 99% confident is going to be a Badger next year. And arguably has the highest potential in that wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see the ball in Tretch Kekahuna's hands. I am pleased with how Bryson Green played in his absence of Will Pauling. And Vinny Anthony's a stud.
Yeah.
Vinny Anthony is an absolute stud. As the season went on, he started getting a bigger and bigger role on offense. He became more than just a special teamer. And last week, he had 7 catches on 8 targets. Vinny Anthony's a gamer.
Yeah, he is.
And it was the first couple weeks of Vinny Anthony starting to get more playing time. He was kind of just the deep ball, take the top off the defense guy. And now he's getting some possession receiver type work too. So the guys that I want to see with the ball in their hands are Tretch Kekahuna, Vinny Anthony, and Bryson Green. So we'll see what the Badgers can do. Obviously, we need Braden Locke at his best. So I'm just going to jump into the X Factor because mine is Braden Locke.
Okay.
And I want to see a no turnover game from him. He shouldn't have had a turnover against Nebraska, but it is what it is. If we can get the best version of Braden Locke, I think the Badgers will be able to keep the bowl streak alive. They will be able to keep the axe. They just need the most consistent version of Braden Locke, and not the second half of Penn State Braden Locke. So, Mike, who is your X Factor?
Pretty sure I said this last year as well, but I still think it's the same thing. The seniors on this team are my X Factor going in.
Could have guessed that.
This is pretty cut and dry for me. How do you want to be remembered from the Axe game? I mean, this is the most historic rivalry in all of college football. It's the series that's been played the most since 1890, I want to say it is. I believe we're up 1 game right now in the overall series, but no, this rivalry is not taken lightly at all whatsoever. As soon as you get on campus as a freshman, you get told immediately what this rivalry is like. So how do you want to be remembered? Guys like Jake Chaney, whose last game it's going to be, Hunter Wohler, Aaron Witt, who you just said before. Can we see a little more consistency out of him going in this week? Nizier Forkreen last game. Preston Zachman last game. He's been with the program for 5 years. Let's see. I could go Jack Nelson, another guy. The right guard. Shoot. Joe Huber.
What about is Ben Barton in his last year? Or does he still have a year of eligibility left?
So it's interesting. If you look at like the seniors, there was a posting with all the seniors that'll be walking on senior day. He wasn't on there. I thought he actually was a senior, and maybe he is. Maybe he's trying to get like
no, he's a junior. All right, cool. No, Ben Barton will be back if he wants to be.
And a good example of that actually is Jake Renfro, because he is a senior. He's not in that I don't think he's on that walkout list. But I do believe he's trying to get another year of eligibility because he did sit out for a full year. So, but case in point, the seniors, man, for sure. How do you want to be etched into this axe? Are you going to be a loss, a win? I know a guy like Hunter Wohler, who's put in his heart and soul in his program. If he even gets the slightest green light, I can promise you he's going to be playing in this game. So I really don't – a guy like that, I really don't want to see him going out with a loss against
it's still like 2 months away, but I am desperately hoping that Hunter Wohler agrees to go to the Senior Bowl and we have a chance to interview him. I desperately want to talk to Hunter Wohler as far as Wisconsin football is concerned, outside of what we're going to be doing for draft prep. Hunter Wohler is already at the top of the list of the guys that I want to talk to.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Jake, who's your X Factor?
So before I get into it, I looked it up for you. The first matchup between Wisconsin and Minnesota was November 15th, 1890.
It was 18.
That's a long time ago. The Badgers are up 1 win, 63-62. There's been 8 ties. Our home record is 35, 24, and 6. Our away record is 28, 38, and 2. So
1890. That was what, like 2 years before you were born?
Yeah.
And plus the carry the 0 a long time before I was born. For me, I wrote down Tawi Walker. As he goes, so does the Badgers offense. He has 3 straight games without hitting 100 yards or having a touchdown. You can obviously see what happened to the Badgers offense. He had no stats recorded versus South Dakota and Alabama. Games that we lost where he didn't get 100 yards or a touchdown was USC, Penn State, obviously the last 3, like I said, Iowa, Oregon, and Nebraska. And record when he gets 100 yards or a touchdown, we have 4 wins. Pretty simple. Just give him the ball, block for him, and let him kill the clock and also run a lot of yards. That's just pretty much how that goes.
All right, Mike, what's your key?
I got a couple, and I'm just saying because based off of what Jake said, ties more so into the running game. We have to establish a run, more so just developing the consistency in the run game. And when I say that, more chunk plays, right? Because it's no question we want to try and run the ball. We've tried to do that the last few games. Hasn't necessarily gone our way, not really. But if we can establish it, we need to get more of those chunk plays. So that's number one. And then number two, I mean, I talked about it already, but can we see the defensive performances similar to Penn State and Oregon? We're playing at home. Not the most ideal being on Black Friday at 11 a.m., but, here we are. But can we see those defensive performances at home, right, for one more time this year? So I fully expect it. I said it before, my X factor. I fully expect these seniors specifically to make the other guys know on this team what this rivalry is all about. I feel like they will be ready to go. I sure as hell hope so, because I hate losing that bald-headed you-know-what over there in Minnesota. So I don't want that thing laying in his bed again, because then we're going to have to spray it down and probably put some other shit on it too to get it back to, what it used to be.
I'm sure there's some slippery stuff on it.
Yeah.
Jake, what's your key?
So I have own the line of scrimmage, and I wrote down with this, you need to play with purpose and force. It's as simple as that. You play with purpose and force, and you control the line of scrimmage. You just let the linebackers fly around and make some tackles. That's literally how easy that is. Football is not hard. Play fast, you play physical, you rip people's throats out of their assholes, and then you move on with your life. That's
Can we
how
make
it works.
a T-shirt out that on that direct quote?
Put that on a T-shirt.
I will, and I would wear it. It's literally, you get to play like a crazed dog. One of the best defensive players of all time, Lawrence Taylor, said, "I'm a crazed dog." He said, "When I strap this up, I'm a crazed dog." It's not that hard to get in that mindset. That's what I used to do too.
Just get in that mindset and then just be in the right place at the right time. That's it.
Bro, click. I'm ripping your eyeballs out of your nostrils. That's how this works.
This is so random. Just like pick a random body part and a place for them to come out of.
Bro,
it's like a weird
whatever
bad
I have to do to win a football game, I'm going to do it.
My key is to end on a high note. So whether this ends up being, the last game for a lot of these players, I'm hoping it's not, because if they win, they'll get a bowl game, which is what I'd like to see. I'd like to be able to see these guys get another game yet this season. But to end this season on a high note, I think the perception gets better than just 6-6 with winning the Axe. I think that's one of those things that, it carries more than just a win. It carries more than just one in the W column, in my opinion. Justin said play like Tucker Kraft, and Tim said Jake the Ripper.
Yeah, people's elbow over here, baby.
All right, Mike, give me your score prediction from the head.
So just going to give a short spiel here. When it comes to this game, of course, it's all about the rivalry. I think winning this game is on par in my view. It's just as important with just winning this game in general, because we really need these extra 2 weeks for reps with this team for the bowl game. It's not necessarily, okay, we're going to go to a bowl game. To me, I feel like we need the reps as a team to get these young guys acquainted, because going into next season, we are going to be super, super young.
Yep.
This whole offensive line, unless Jake Renfro can get, another year of eligibility, if I'm not mistaken, I think our whole offensive line is gone. Maybe Wallman might be just a junior. I'm not sure. Maybe, I guess we could check on that. I guess Joe Brunner is back. The one guy that is going to be back for sure is Joe Brunner. Everyone else might be gone. We need to have those young guys ready. Our running back room is going to be young. Who knows what's happening at quarterback, right? Tyler Van Dyke is questionable. Who knows what's going to go on with the locks? Maybe Matoyer. My opinion, I don't think he's going to be here next year. I could be wrong. But anyway, it goes back to, at the end of the day, we need reps with this very young team, because not just the players, but I think the coaches would concur too, because there's definitely a lot of gray areas with this football team. The inconsistency, I think, is the biggest call out of this team, because we've seen it on both sides of the ball. We've seen flashes of how good they can be. We've also seen flashes of the very, very ugly. So just developing reps with this younger squad, I think, is going to pay dividends, just those extra 2 weeks, and hopefully get a game out of it. So from the head, I got there's no way I could have Minnesota win this game, no matter what, head or heart. So from the head, I got 20-17 Wisconsin.
So Riley Molman played 12 snaps in 2021, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that he redshirted that year, which means he would still have eligibility next year.
Okay.
From the head, I also predicted a close game. Probably not going to love this, but I have 24-23 Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mike, I'm going to copy you because I also had 20-17 Wisconsin.
Yeah. All right. Justin said young team sounds like the Packers. Maybe they'll play like them. That would be swell. I would love the youthful energy and a little bit less tense pressure. All right, Mike, what do you have from the heart?
Yeah, and even the secondary too, just with the young team over both sides of the ball. I was just mentioning offensive players, so just wanted to get that out there, because most of our secondary is going to be gone. From the heart, I know I think we're going to bounce back. We're at home this week. We've shown flashes of how good we can be at home. That being said, I got 27-14 Wisconsin from the heart.
From the heart, I did have 28-21. I do like your point on being at home, and they have played better at home. That is a really fair point.
Well, Mike, we were on the same wavelength for a little bit, but we're not anymore. I have 24-14 Wisconsin.
Not too bad.
We're close.
All right.
We're close.
So we will have the recap of this game next Wednesday. Justin said he knows nothing about Badger football, but he's here to support, so I'm Wisconsin. Well, Justin, we're gonna have a much different change in tone now as we go from football to basketball.
Are we ever?
Man, let's start with Friday. Friday against UCF, really, really fun game. The Badgers now, with this game, scored 79 points in their first 6 games for the first time in program history.
Yep.
So Bo Ryan didn't do it. Dick Bennett didn't do it. Nobody has done it with the offense. There needs to be a lot of credit given to Greg Gard, and it's not even to just be like, oh, we don't want to fire him anymore. Pete, you need to go a step further and start giving this man credit, because he has revolutionized the Badgers offense in 2 seasons. Last year, we saw it tick up a little bit, but with the departure of Chucky Hepburn, Greg Gard's just like, fuck it, we're going full pro-style basketball mode. And it's awesome. It's super fun to watch. So, Mike, starting with the guards, what did you take away from Friday night?
I'm going to say the first point regarding the guards. Who says guard can't develop players? Mind you, I'm going to mention two of these 3 guys that I'm going to mention have been at the program now for 2-3 years, and are going to be averaging 20 to 30 plus minutes a game. And you guys have an idea who I'm going to say. One of them being Max Klesmit, who has been all conference defensive player guy, and we call upon him to make big shots for us.
Yep.
This is now his 3rd year in the program. Is that not player development? I don't know what else might be.
People complain because he doesn't put guys in the NBA.
Yeah. So, and the other guy, Kamari McGee, who I'm going to touch base with. So my first point, player development. yes, we can develop players at Wisconsin, just to let everybody know. So anyway, Max Klesman had an average game. He wasn't the bright spot or the vocal point on Friday, but he still played 30 minutes. Whatever. 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. So definitely putting the stat line together a little bit. But 2 of 7 from 3. Didn't really get going until the second half for the most part. But I mean, he's a constant out there. 27 minutes he played. He's going to be out there. Not the biggest, impact on Friday, but that we have 6-7 other guys that can do that. So,
Yeah.
and then jumping into my opinion, the player of this game, you can argue that just me, because since I have the guards, Kamari McGee, holy shit, he's putting together one hell of a year. I'm definitely gonna touch base more stats with him after on the Pitt game, but in 19 minutes he played. You want to talk about efficiency here? 19 minutes, 14 points, 3 of 3 from the 3-point line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Literally, as soon as he comes into the game, within the first 30 seconds, he hits a 3-pointer. Then next possession, he dished a nice, sweet assist to John Blackwell. So his impact is unreal on this team this year. I don't want to look too far ahead, but I was talking to somebody today about, Wisconsin Marquette could be, a top 10 matchup potentially. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to Kamari McKee locking up Cam Jones's jockstrap that game. I want to see how that's going to go. Yeah, that's what I said.
We'll see.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Sorry to get off topic there, but no, he was plus 11 in this game. I'm gonna hit that stat again in the Pitt game as well. But clearly, he's a huge asset to this year's team, and I think it's become clear how important he is going to be. I think deep down, I still got a shot with him being defensive team all conference in the Big Ten the way this is going right now. So, but offensively, he's made just as much of an impact with these guys. So kudos to Kamari. He's having a great year so far. And then the last guard, Jack Janicki, that I want to touch base with. He got 14 minutes in this game against UCF, and he had hit one big 3-pointer, 1 rebound, 1 assist. And the one thing that I will attest to with his game, he definitely belongs out there in terms of, number one, his decision making. Although there was one play on Friday against Pitt that I wasn't a big fan of, but and you can just tell from a defensive rotation standpoint, he definitely deserves to be out there. And he's one of the most fearless players on this team too. If you think about it, he has no problem, taking that 3-pointer or making those potentially risky, decisions. He's a guy who deserves to be out there. And he's going to be the next great walk on at Wisconsin, in my view, to get that scholarship. And I think we should give it to him ASAP. And just a guy that deserves to be out on the floor with this team. And it was a blowout from start to finish. This team, other takeaways from this game real quick. It's a blowout from start to finish. These guys are very unselfish. That is the biggest, I think, takeaway from this team, because you can name 3 to 4 guys that I think that can go off at any time, and they don't care who does it, right? So that's why it's really, really fun to watch these guys. We had 5 players with 3 assists or more in this game too with UCF. So that just goes back to my point there. Very unselfish team. And I think the weirdest stat from this game, UCF, they shot 21 more free throws than Wisconsin. 21 more. And the score was 86-70. And it should have been a 20-point plus win, like, for sure. Maybe even 30 if we would have kept the starters in. So this is kind of weird in that sense too. But, here we are. Great win. We'll go with that.
So I'm gonna jump right into the free throw part of it, because John Tonje was still aggressively attacking the basket from the baseline. It wasn't his most efficient game. He finished with 15 points on 14 shots. And what I put in my notes from Friday going into Sunday, and obviously I know now, having seen the game Sunday, but I didn't when I made my notes on Friday, was that I didn't want this game, just because he didn't get the whistle, to discourage his aggressiveness. And knowing the Pitt game, it didn't, which is really good. So I'm going to kind of come back to that when we get to Pitt. But the disparity in free throws was large and not in the favor of the Badgers. It wasn't anything like the Arizona game where both teams were shooting in the 40s. It was 37-16. That's a big difference. obviously more than double the free throws. So while he didn't have his, crazy outburst in scoring, I do still appreciate that he didn't change his play style just to fit how the officiating was going. As for John Blackwell, he scored 17 points, but he was very efficient. He was 6 of 10, 2 for 4 on threes. He did miss 2 free throws, and I'm sure he's mad at himself, so I'm not going to blast him over it. Added 5 rebounds. He was one of the guys that had 3 assists, like Mike said, had 2 turnovers. Now, I boldly predicted that John Blackwell would average 15-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, and 1-plus steal. He's currently at 16.3, 4.7, and 0.7 steals. So he's this close. He needs a couple games of 6 rebounds to get that average over 5. But I'm going to let Jake go on the bigs before throwing just a couple other stats out there, and then we can go to Pitt after that.
Yeah, first thing I'm going to hit on the point that Mike said about the free throws. The first thing I wrote down was if you defend without fouling, we might win this game by fucking 50 points, dude. The UCF never got comfortable, and I want to give credit to the entire team. Now, I want to back up, and I want to give credit to guard, first of all, for switching the offense. Tyler was talking about that earlier. The thing that people don't understand about playing a faster pace is they think that when you speed up the other team that they're just going to turn the ball over a ton. No, that's not all it does. Other things that it does is it makes you take bad shots that are uncharacteristic, and you shoot very low percentages. Like they went 2 for 17 from the three-point line.
No legs.
They probably weren't taking shots that they thought they were going to take. And it hurt their offense, and it allowed the Badgers to get out with long rebound attempts and score easily. In terms of the big men, Winter, double-double, 13 and 10. So good job by him.
First career double-double.
Yeah,
Super happy for Nolan Winter.
Very happy for him. That's back-to-back games where he hit a three-pointer, so good job. Crowell, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Now you're going to look at that stat line and you're going to be like, what is he doing out there? Is he doing cardio? I'll say this. This team needs Crowell more this year for defense than it does for offense, and that is a very, very good thing for this Badgers team. Last year, they depended on him. They threw the ball down to him. We complained about it all year long, about how the ball was just stopping, the offensive flow was stopping. If there's one major change that this team made in the offseason, it was that the ball is going to keep hopping and the flow is going to stay. Every big man that comes in, the 2 guys off the bench, Amos and Gilmore, they do a great job of just keeping the ball hopping, keeping the ball moving. The offense is flowing. It's flowing. Every once in a while, we still throw it down there because we have to. Those are principles of basketball, right? It's playing inside out. That's one of the staples of basketball, how it goes.
It's like football. You can't stop running the ball just because you want to.
Exactly. You get the 1-2 yard runs, it doesn't matter. You have to run the ball.
Yeah.
Same thing about
Jake, as Badger football, and Mike is obviously going to be included this too because it's Badgers. As Badger football ends, I think we should kind of take a little bit of a look at how the Badgers offense is running and try to break some of that stuff down just to kind of continue furthering the point that Greg Gard does deserve a lot of credit for how different this team looks.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've been trying to do that a little bit more as well. Give them a little bit more contextual things. Wanted to give credit to Amos and Gilmore. You do not ever have to question their effort on defense. They are hustling, first to the floor, hands up, going in there for rebounds. They may not always get the rebound, and Amos is not the greatest at post defense, where Gilmore is stronger at that, and Amos is a little bit better at the perimeter defense, but they complement each other very well, I feel like.
You could put them on the floor together for sure.
Yeah, and Amos is the guy that stretches the floor on offense, and Gilmore's the guy that, he sets good screens, which is a skill. I don't care what anybody says. Mm-hmm. It's a good skill to be a good screen setter. Definitely helps John Tanji and Blackwell and all those guys get downhill a little bit more. But I never have to question their effort. That's something that makes me sleep well at night, is knowing that. What's going on, man? Winter and Crowell length on the defensive end as well is just something that I'm going to appreciate this year. Again, they keep the ball moving, and that's a huge thing. But overall, their stats, the starting bigs had 19 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 of 14 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. The bench bigs had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. This is Amos and Gilmore together. They went 0 for 6 from the three-point line, but they had 2 blocks. Both those blocks were credited to Gilmore. So, again, to my point, where he plays better down-low defense, shows in the hardcore numbers right there. But overall, just a wire-to-wire ass whooping for the Wisconsin Badgers, and I love every second of it. The second they hit top 5, I'm gonna be throwing a party because I'm like, yes. Now you got to stay there for the rest of the year for me to look smart.
Invite me. Yeah.
I love that the Badgers, just from the get-go, really did a good job of holding UCF to one and done.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it in my notes, and then it got brought up on the broadcast, and it's like, yep, see, I know ball. But they jumped up to a 14-6 lead, and like you said, UCF never was comfortable. It never felt like UCF was going to go on a run. It just felt like the Badgers controlled pretty much everything. And then just the last thing that I wanted to put out there is the bench. You mentioned the bench guards. You mentioned the bench bigs. The bench total, 27 bench points. The depth really showing for the Badgers in this game was something that I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm. I was going to also say, like, this is a game, and I messaged you guys. Steven Crowell got in foul trouble in this game, and he fouled out early. So I just wanted to point out, Jake obviously mentioned the stats, but it's a credit to, not Nolan Winter, who we just said, first double-double of his career. He obviously showed up. And then Carter Gilmore and Xavier Amos have to cover some of that up too, right? So, no, it was a good collective, what's the word I'm looking for? Collective. Yep. Thank you. No, because we needed to do it with Stephen Crowell getting in foul trouble. I was worried, and especially in our messages going back and forth. But no, it was kudos to those guys for covering that up and, continuing on with the ass whooping.
For sure. All right. So we can move into the championship game. That started like an hour late because LSU and UCF went into triple overtime. Yeah. It was a really fun game to watch, though. Like, honestly, at that point, I was just like, I just want to see how far this goes. Like, I just want to see, like, how many overtimes can they play? Can they play 4 overtimes? Can I see 5 overtimes? Can I see 6 overtimes? Can this game start at midnight for the Badgers because LSU and UCF are in their 8th overtime? Like, I just want to see how far it goes before they got like the team manager, the equipment manager suiting up in jerseys because everybody else fouled out.
Special here.
They had to play without a shot clock in this game, this first half. It was wild. Did you guys notice that? They played without a shot clock.
I was busy watching the Packers beat the piss out of the 49ers.
And once they were doing that, I turned all my energy over to this game. So it's all good. Yeah.
All right, what's up to you from the Pitt game on Sunday?
Well, first off, that streak is still alive. We've averaged over 79 points in the first 7 games now, so that streak is still going.
Love that.
So kudos. This is an interesting stat too. Only one team in college basketball, spoiler alert, it might be us, has won multiple games this year versus teams ranked inside the KenPom top 25.
It is Wisconsin.
The Badgers with 2 multiple. So yeah, that's us. By the spoiler alert. Sorry, I had to throw that out there. So
I saw the stat too. Sorry.
It was a great, great game. Pitt, I think, is a tournament team. This is very highly skilled, definitely all the way around. This is back and forth from not back and forth. We were off to a slow start, but then once the second half hit, it was, that's when it got very, very interesting because this is the first game this year where our shooting in general, mainly from the 3-point line, wasn't clicking. The Badgers shot 0 of 11 from the 3-point line the first half. It's something we haven't seen yet in a game this year. So it's like, well, okay, how do we respond to that? And, we showed up in the second half. So start with the guards. Max Klesmith, 7 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 34 minutes, 1 of 7, hit a big time 3 in the second half. I believe it was to go up 4. 4-6 from the free throw line. Again, not necessarily putting up the padded stats yet, but everybody knows on that court, if anybody scouts him, that he can go off at any point in time. So I'm hoping that game might come against Marquette like last year. So that's to be determined next week. 34 minutes, but our guy again, Kamari McGee, showed up once again. He's becoming a major problem in college basketball, and a good way for the Badgers. Teams are gonna want to scout him because he is becoming a major role player for this team. In 28 minutes, got a lot of playing time. I think it was 28. Did I write that down? Yeah, 28 minutes. Yeah, would you look at that? So it's his highest amount of time he's played in a game in his career. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Jake and I talked about this stat prior to starting, but Kamari McGee is 20-3. The batters are 20-3 when he plays more than 10 minutes in a game. So that obviously speaks volumes with how valuable he is to this team. I talked about player development before as well. That goes a long way, and it's just justifiable with what he's producing now. Yeah, he's got 7.5 points and two assists this season on average per game. He was good for plus 13 on the floor this last game against Pitt. And, that was the major reason why he got 28 minutes, right? Yeah, career high. He takes the right shots in the right moments, and he's also shooting 56.3% from the 3-point line this season. So that is scorching for our standards. Seems like when we need a play, he's a top candidate to get it done. So, it's great. And then Jack Janicki got out there for 8 minutes, not too much overall, but he had a big time assist. It looked like he pump faked twice when they're in a fast break. He gets the ball on the wing, pump fake twice because the Pitt defender was trying to block a shot. Made a beautiful pass down to Nolan Winter for a dunk, which was pretty damn sweet. The one play I did want to call out, something he's got to clean up. I know it's hopefully a one-time thing. We did have a 3-on-1 situation there in the second half, and the guy felt like he was on a heater, and he decided to pull up from 3 on the wing. So it's something that we can't do and shouldn't do going forward, but I respect the decision. And that goes back to my point from the UCF game that he is fearless. He's a guy that I, without a doubt, should have a scholarship for this team, and he's not afraid to do, anything for this team.
I
so
think
kudos
going
to
from
that.
the winter semester into the spring semester, I think that's when he'll have an opportunity to get one.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'll be looking for that, obviously. So I guess, and overall, one of the biggest takeaways, I hope it doesn't turn into consistent, because I'm just looking at other guys that got minutes. Carter Gilmore only got 2 minutes. Xavier Amos only got 5. I'm just hoping and this is just nitpicking, by the way. I'm hoping it doesn't turn into guys like, Tanjay, he had 38 minutes. John Blackwell got 37. I'm hoping as we get into the Big Ten season, that doesn't become consistent every single game, especially when we get closer to the end of the year, when it gets to March and whatnot. Just from a perspective of not being gassed necessarily, that's my one. And again, that's just nitpicking, right? I'm hoping we can get to that 8 to 9 consistent player rotation. So a guy like Xavier Amos, I would love to see maybe ultimately get to maybe that 10 to 15 on average, 15 minutes on average per game, just to help that out. That's just an example. Or even, maybe another guard that does step up. I get it. It might have been a matchup situation for this game. That was just kind of one of my biggest calls. And I'm hoping that doesn't necessarily trickle as we get into Big Ten play.
That's kind of what I felt. I felt it was definitely matchup dependent. Like this game, you mentioned the slow start. The Badgers got down by 14 at one point in the first half. And it was a really slow start with their shooting. They were able to cut the lead to 7 at halftime without making a 3. That's kind of a big deal. To cut a lead in half without making a 3 is kind of a big deal. In 3 minutes and 11 seconds into the second half, they cut the lead to 2. And then just over 4 minutes, they had the game tied at 38. So I do think this being a close, really toughly contested game, not to mention the potential last tournament that a guy like Steven Crowell or Max Klesmik could be playing in, trying to get them a tournament win. They talk about going away to these tournaments is like a thing that they like to do every season. It's something they look forward to. So trying to really get that win to win the Greenbrier tournament, and this being such a tightly contested game, I do feel that that's why the starters played more minutes. Obviously, we'll see when we get to some of the other, like you said, the Big Ten games, and we have to play like Purdue, who's ranked, Rutgers, who has some really interesting players, if that is going to be a trend in other close games. So that potentially to keep something to keep an eye on. But as far as the 7-0 start, I think that was just the matchup dependent. Now, that 7-0 start is the best since the 2015-16 season, the year they went to the national championship. So, you can call it now. The Badgers are going to be in the national championship. It's just fate, destiny, and there's literally nothing that can change that because that's a completely factual thing that is going to happen. So, imagine if we talked like that all the time. It was just like, yeah, this season started the exact same way, so that's the exact way that's going to go. Looking at the wings, John Blackwell had another really great game where I really love the way that he's driving to the basket. John Blackwell is becoming a really, really strong slashing wing. So I'm really liking to see that from him. He made his free throws late. He was 4 for 4 on the free throws in this game. He finished with 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, did have 3 turnovers, something I'd like to see him cut down on. John Tanji, like I said with the UCF game, I was hoping that the non-call thing wasn't going to stop him from driving to the basket this game. It didn't. He scored 8 points in the first half. He finished with 33. 25 points in the second half, forcing the attack, and him forcing the ball into the paint helped Wisconsin get their 51-50 lead, the first lead that they had since it was 2-0. And he's becoming a star in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just becoming a good transfer. He's becoming a legit star for the Badgers. So I don't want that to be taken lightly, how well he has performed coming in as a transfer. He's been better than A.J. Storr was when he came in last year. And A.J. Storr injected some juice into the program. John Tanji's been better. So I don't want that to be taken lightly. He finished with 33 points. 7 rebounds. I know I said it 2 weeks ago. I don't remember if I said anything about it last week. But John Tanji is helping in the rebounding. His athleticism shows by him being down in the paint for rebounds. I love that from him, and it's one of the things that Jake and I were going to talk about this with the Bucks. That the bigs boxing out for guards to grab rebounds, that's just one of those things that it saves you that amount of time that it takes for a big to pass the ball to a guard. It saves you a second or two. That gets your break started a second or two faster. We're talking about the Badgers being a faster-paced team this season. Guards rebounding the basketball helps your pace.
100%.
So, all in all, very pleased that the Badgers are still undefeated as far as this season goes. But, Jake, what did you take away from the bigs in the championship game?
I think they played big. Winter, back-to-back games of double-digit scoring, so good by him. He's taking good shots, being efficient with the ball. 5 of 7, 1 from 3 from downtown. So I like that he's letting it fly a little bit from behind the arc, and he's also mixing it up and playing a little bit down low. He's kind of like a poor man's Frank right now. If he gets the back down game, then we could start having some real conversations. I'll say that. Also, the thing that Frank was a little underrated is the handle. But I just need him to have the top of the key 3-pointer and a little bit more of a back down game, and we might have something at Nolan Winter, like a legit all Big Ten player if he starts putting that stuff together.
I'm so excited about Nolan Winter.
These are the small building blocks that build up to that player that he's going to become in a year or two.
I was say 2 years from now, when we're talking about him as a first-team All Big Ten player, we can come back to this and be like, "Remember when we said building blocks in November of 2024?"
I could see it already. I could see him developing. The leap that he's made from year 1 to this year is outstanding. If he doubles down on that going into next season and continuing it this season, we're gonna have a legit player on our hands after a 30-game season with him playing all these minutes. Obviously, he got in last year. Against freaking Frankenstein who used to play for Purdue, but that doesn't count because how are we supposed to guard that guy? Talking about Crowell, 9 rebounds. He went 3 for 9 from the field, but that didn't stop him from helping clean up the glass. So good job by Crowell. Wanted to give him credit for that, cleaning the glass. He's been pretty good in that area this year, in my opinion. In terms of Amos and Gilmore, Mike stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to ask, why the heck did they only play 7 minutes? But you answered my question because I wrote down and I circled it probably about 10 million times. Talk about bench rotation. I was really interested in why that was. Gilmore literally took one shot and missed one shot. It was a 3-pointer. and Amos had 1 rebound in 7 minutes. So that's the stats for the bench bigs is 1 rebound and 0 for 1. And I agree with you guys that it probably was matchup dependent. I also want to know the coach that decided to inject energy into John Tanji and told him about the matchup that he was able to exploit. I want to find out the coach that said that because he deserves a raise.
I kind of feel like it was Kirk Penny, if I'm being honest.
I can see that. In terms of starting big, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 16 from the field. So shooting 50%, obviously 3 for 9 from Crowell brings that down a little bit, but great mental fortitude by this Badgers basketball team to be able to come back against a good Pittsburgh Panthers team. Pitt's usually pretty good at basketball. They're usually okay at football too. They're actually a pretty competitive school overall. But in terms of basketball, I think they're a little bit known for basketball. That's just maybe me personally. But just a good win in a weird gym, by the way. I
liked it. I liked the small gym.
It was yeah, I liked it too because it had a little bit more of like a high school feel, I guess, especially for us small town guys. But you're used to the big giant court with the
stadium,
40,000 people, 30,000 people in the stands, and it felt like they were a can of sardines fitting 2,000 into this little gym, man.
Ballroom.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, and one more thing on Crowell too. Can't let a show go by without saying that he's a great passer.
Oh man, I forgot to bring that up. He's actually the lead assist man for the Badgers this year.
It's wild, and I think that just goes to show how much the ball is moving.
Yep. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot to bring that up.
I will never let a show go by where we don't talk about Stephen Crowell being a good passer. So the Badgers have 2 games between now and next Wednesday. They play Saturday against Chicago State and Tuesday against Michigan. So we will have 2 more Badger games to discuss next week. Is there anything else you guys want to say before we switch to the Bucks?
Let's keep stacking dubs.
Yep.
All right. Hopefully we're discussing a 9-0 Badgers team that moves up from 15th to, say, 12 next week. I don't think anybody's going to be blown away if the Badgers beat Chicago State and Michigan, but if they just keep moving up, Mike was kind of already alluding it to that Marquette game just kind of takes on a little bit more of a interesting matchup that'll be very fun to watch. So, alrighty, Mike, we will see you again next week and on Wisconsin.
Later, fellas. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Go Pack, go, and on Wisconsin, of course.
Later, buddy. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Later.
All right. So we're going to switch to Bucks basketball now. We have 4 games that we're going to run through. I think with us having our notes a little bit more organized as far as this season goes, we're able to articulate our thoughts on this a little bit better.
Yep.
And just to try to make sure that we're covering our bases on things, and it's still something that we're adapting to. But going into the Bucks and the Bulls game, I'm going to start with the 3-point shooting.
Go ahead.
So the Badgers, we just switched from Badgers. The Bucks started slow. It's a theme that the Badgers were starting slow. So I'm mentioning the Bucks' slow start, but they made 7 of their 15 threes in the first quarter. They shot 13 of 36. They slowed down after the first quarter, but the third quarter, Giannis absolutely took this game over. And Damian Lillard was still getting to the paint well, plus good passing and good finishing from all 3 of the big men, being Giannis, Bobby, and Brook. Only 11 turnovers. That's pretty good. 20 points off turnovers is a little high, but the Bulls are young and they like to run. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, they're absolutely going to push the ball. Zach LaVine is an athletic guy, so he's going to push the ball. Yep. That's just how the Bulls are. The Bucks playmaking. Giannis and Dame, both of them, made some great passes, and it started right away.
Yep.
Both of them had 3 assists in the first quarter. Could have been more, looking at some of the shots that were missed, but second quarter, Damian Lillard 3 assists, Giannis 2 assists. Third quarter, Damian Lillard 4 more assists. I mean, I don't understand how there are still people that don't think that Damian Lillard had stuff going on last season and it was just a down year for him, and that he is better this season, even coming off of his concussion, which is, in my opinion, what contributed to his first couple games of not shooting the 3 well. The version of Damian Lillard that we've gotten in the last week is fucking awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, kind of good. Kind of looking like Portland Dame, the guy that we traded for, now that he had a full
I like that version.
Yeah. And then just the Bucks offensive scheme in general this game really stood out to me. Now that we're 15 games in. At this point, they've won 4 of 5, and it's not a shock that they're scoring more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
I just mentioned the playmaking. The first quarter, they had 11 assists on 13 field goals. The second quarter, they had 8 assists on 12 field goals. So, in my opinion, we were talking about it with the Badgers, that everybody's trying to help everybody. In any sort of basketball, it doesn't matter if you're talking middle school, high school, college, rec league, NBA, ball movement creates better shots. And when everybody's bought into it, it means good things for your team's offense.
Mm-hmm.
So, third quarter, 7 assists on 12 field goals. Just for the game, 30 assists on 44 made field goals and only 11 turnovers.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And my last the last thing that I took away from this game was points in the paint. The Bulls had 34. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 32.
Yeah, he did.
And the Bucks total finished with 54. Those are all great numbers. Just a really enjoyable win for the Bucks. So the last I'm going to let you give your takeaways, and then I have a Doc Rivers credit to give. So give me your takeaways, and then I'm going to give Doc Rivers some credit.
Yeah, so first thing I want to point out is something that I find interesting is, going back to the Rockets game where Ajax only played 5 minutes, right? In this one, he played 14 minutes. So they were kind of, okay, we're going to pull back on you a little bit, teach you some stuff, make you watch the game a little bit. Then we're going to let the leash go a little bit, kind of like training a dog how to walk, right? Yep. And that may be like a terrible comparison, but that's the thing that kind of pops in my mind.
It makes sense because they're going to pull him back sometimes too. Like he definitely gets taken out of the game when he makes some mental mistakes. And Eric Name just wrote an article and gave a bunch of video examples of it. But like the turnover thing is definitely part of it. Like when he makes bad turnovers, he gets taken out immediately. Yep. So I don't think like the dog walking thing is a bad example just because you get the pullback and then you let the leash out and then you pull him back.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad analogy.
Kind of reining him in. I didn't want anybody to get offended by that or anything. That's just kind of the thing that pops in my head. In terms of Dave and Giannis, I mean, dude, every game they play together, they seem to be gelling more and more and more and more. And it's just awesome to watch. We have a guy that wears number 22 who already has good rapport with Giannis coming back very soon. I felt like Chris and Dame played very well together last year, even with Dame having a down year by his standards, right? So I'm very excited to see how that relationship will grow. Tim said my sister is a Bulls fan, so this was a great win. Your sister has not been having fun for a long time. That's all I got to say on that. Also, you could tell that the Bulls are a poverty franchise outside of the MJ era. I don't care what they say. They are trash outside the MJ era. They had a little run with Derrick Rose.
Derrick Rose.
That's why they hang on to Derrick Rose so much.
Dude, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. He might be one of the most overrated players in NBA history.
Oh, 100%. I think people that like Derrick Rose, kind of a sidebar that we're having right now, the people that like Derrick Rose just do it because the culture likes him.
And I love Derrick Rose post knee injury. Like I'm not saying that I'm glad he got injured, but like being able to reinvent himself after an injury, like I love to see that. Like it's like a redemption thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, does he get so overrated for what he did with the Bulls?
Unbelievable. Off that 1 year, right? And that's the argument that they have, but that's a conversation for another day. I want to give credit to Brook Lopez for a very efficient 21 points. Very efficient, 9 of 12. In terms of before I go ahead here, let's talk about the bench. The bench scored 40 points, had 17 rebounds and 7 assists, 11 of 22 from the field. 9 of their 11 makes came from the three-point line. So you want to talk about being efficient? You come in, you light some things up. That really 8 of the 9 3-pointers belong to Gary Trent Jr. and AJ Green. So great job by them. They've been on one, as the kids say. They've been on one. How they scored in efficiency, right? So 101 of the 122 points came from these areas. 28 from drive. Dame and Giannis together had 23 of the 28, so they were absolutely dominating in that area. Catch and shoot, we had 32 points off catch and shoot opportunities. I just talked about AJ Green, 12 of his points, 12 of his 18 points came off of Catch and shoot opportunities, Brook had 8. So that's 20 of the 32 right there. Pull-up game, I tell you guys, when Dame is on, he's working the pull-up game. He has that nice move that he pulls from the mid-range every once in a while. He can still create off the dribble for a three-pointer, almost as good as anybody. He's top 5 in the NBA in that category alone. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not here to argue. I'm just spitting facts. 11 of the 22 pull-up points came from Damian Lillard. And when I talk paint, it's not points in the paint. It's people who get drop-down passes in the paint and they score, right? Drop downs or, any kind of way that they're in the paint and the ball gets passed to them. 19 points off paint touches, 11 from Brook Lopez. So Brook Lopez was very good at finding his way into the paint, finding the soft spot in the defense, and just being available. So 101 of the 122 points were scored in that way. The other 21, obviously, from free throws. So very, very nice job by the Milwaukee Bucks offensively. Very efficient, scoring in a lot of different ways. Pull up, catch and shoot, drives. I mean, honestly, I can't complain about this game at all. The Bucks played really good, and they played really good spurts of defense in this one as well.
Tim said that she stuck with the Bulls since the Jordan era, so she's got to respect that. But
listen, I'm not giving you respect. You pick a team, you stay with them. That's just kind of how this works.
Hey, we stuck it through the 15-win Bucks teams.
Yeah, I don't want to hear nothing about respect, dude. No offense.
Loyalty right there.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to say is, and this is just one of those things that doesn't get brought up. It only gets brought up when people are upset. But Doc Rivers did good things. And it's not just by playing the players that people want him to play. Doc Rivers did a really smart thing in this game by subbing out Damian Lillard with 3 minutes and 46 seconds left. Now, why is that a smart thing to do? Because there's a media timeout at 3 minutes. So Doc Rivers subbed out Damian Lillard with 3 minutes and 47 seconds. He called the timeout that would have automatically been taken for him for the media timeout at 3 minutes. He took that timeout at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. So from that 3:46, where Damian Lillard got subbed out, there was a timeout and then the media timeout. Doc Rivers stole Damian Lillard like 5 minutes of rest in about 46 seconds of game time.
Yep.
That is something. It's just one of those things you just can't overlook. Having the awareness to do something like that. Please don't overlook something like that just because you don't want Doc Rivers playing Pat Connaughton in games. So you hate him because he plays Pat Connaughton sometimes.
Yeah.
Please make sure you are paying attention to the other things that go on. And that type of substitution with a use it or lose it timeout before a media timeout is something that needs to be contextually brought up. And that's why I am bringing it up, because that is a chestnut checkers move from Doc Rivers to steal Damian Lillard a bunch of rest with, like I said, only 46 minutes a game or 46 seconds of game time.
Yeah.
Okay. What stood out to you from the Bucks and Pacers?
Man, ever since last year, I love beating the hell out of these guys, man. I hope we sweep them. I hope we embarrass them every single game. We have a much better perimeter defense this year, this time around than this point last year. So awesome job. I gotta say, the first thing I wrote down was Giannis looked like a goddamn NBA Jam character in this game. How many lob attempts did he have? I mean, the freaking block he had where he freaking spiked it past the 3-point line.
Yeah.
And then Gary goes off the board. I was losing my shit.
That was lit.
Holy shit, dude. This is insane. So many lob attempts for Giannis. The thing that does is it creates a lot of easy buckets for him, so he can end up with 37 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists. A very efficient 37, 10, and 11. Me and you were talking last night, and Doc Rivers, talked about it, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years now. Giannis's passing and his basketball IQ does not get appreciated enough.
Yep.
It's all these kids that live on YouTube, and I could say that because I have one, and I tell them all the time, please get off of YouTube. You're not going to learn anything on there. You're not going to learn how basketball's played. You're not going to learn how football's played. You're not going to learn anything. You're just going to get people that are giving hot takes with no factual background.
I mean, I tell my 9-year-old the same thing. Like, it's just junk. It's just junk. You're just watching nonsense.
It's trash. If you want to learn, sit down, watch the game. I'll teach you. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you this. That's how you're going to learn.
So I will
That and
tell
playing.
you the people who actually know what they're talking about. It's not just going to be the stuff that has like a big shiny thumbnail where it's like, oh my God, the Bucks should trade Giannis for Joel Embiid. Then both players get a fresh start. Like, that's not the shit where you're going to learn anything about basketball.
Yeah, that's dumb. Credit to Dame as well. Another double-double under his belt. 24, 5, and 13. 3 of 8 from 3. He's been struggling from 3, and I agree with you. I think the concussion had partially to do with that. I'm foreshadowing a little bit because he ends up breaking through. Talking about Tayshaun Prince, nightly TV is also trash. I agree, Brad.
Yeah.
Tayshaun Prince. For some reason, I kept thinking I was saying his name wrong.
You were saying his name wrong because his name was
Corey Prince. Jesus, why am I saying Tayshaun Prince? I'm thinking of the Pistons.
You were watching 2003 Pistons highlights earlier, weren't you?
Sorry. 5 of 5 and 3 for 3 from the 3-point line. So awesome job by him. Also, Ajax, he bumped up to 20 minutes in this game. Bobby Portis, 17, 7, and 1, and the shimmy is back, baby. The shimmy is back, and I could not be more happy for him. He's doing the shimmy. Giannis is doing the shimmy. The Bucks are slowly, and it's been a grueling task for us fans who are locked in every single game. They are slowly getting back to the camaraderie of the championship year. You could see it growing nightly. That's one of the things I took away. When Giannis and Bobby are doing a shimmy together, I'm like, these boys are starting to bro, dude. They're starting to become a team. How about Gary Trent being on one? 6 of 10 from the field. Oh yeah, 6 of 10 from on the 3-point line, 18 points. AJ Green didn't have his best shooting day, but Gary Trent Jr. was right there next to him. I got to give credit to you. What a great call to put him on the bench, dude. Now, if one guy's not on, the other guy is on. You get the consistent defense from AJ Green. Gary Trent Jr. is not bad on defense. He gives effort.
They're both good defenders.
He's a good on-ball defender. Very active. The bench, 44 points, 16 rebounds, 3 assists. 17 of 32 from the field, 10 of 21 from the 3-point line. I'll take 10 threes from the bench every single day. Every single day I'll take 10 threes. In terms of scoring, on the drive they had 21. Dame had 10 of them. They had 43 on catch and shoots in this one, which is absolutely insane. 43 points off of catch and shoots. 25 from Bobby and Gary combined. Gary with 15, Bobby with 10. Pull-up game, 28 points. Dame had 12 of them. He's going to lead that category. Unless Chris Middleton leads it, it's going to be Chris Middleton or Dame. Just my opinion. Paint touches, we had 20 points, and Giannis had 10 of the 20 points. They shot well from the free throw line. They had 33 assists. I know they had a little bit high turnovers. I feel like a lot of that, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, a lot of that was just when they were being last physical, when we were kicking that ass. And I know you're going to touch on that a little bit more.
Yep.
But other than that, dude, this was a great game to watch.
I'm going to leave the turnovers for the end, just because that's going to be the biggest takeaway that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it, and I'm going to start when they have really bad turnover games. I want to just look at what the Bucks do points per possession and see how many points that they're leaving on the board or taking off the board and allowing their other team to put points on the board.
I like
in that situation. That's why I track points off turnovers, because it's something that your mistakes are directly allowing the other team to steal points from you, because when you turn the ball over, you don't get shots.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even get a bad shot. You get no shot. And you brought up Bobby Portis. He hit 2 rhythm corner threes. He had some really good paint touches. Bobby, the ball is going to move. The ball is going to find you. You don't have to force anything. Bobby, the ball is going to come to you. You don't have to force anything. So I said this to you yesterday. I have cooled on wanting to trade Bobby Portis.
Yes.
I still want to see him be more efficient. He was efficient in this game, but foreshadowing, I'm going to talk more about it. For the Bucks to be 17 of 36 on a day where AJ Green was 1 for 6 on threes, that's really good. Obviously, you already mentioned Gary Trent Jr. The last 5 games up to this Pacers game, Gary Trent, 18 of 32 on threes. It's 56%. You mentioned all the guys bouncing back. This was Giannis' second triple-double. Damian Lillard's 3rd straight double-double. The turnovers is the last thing. This was the only thing that kept the lead from reaching 30 was turnovers. They had it up to 24, got down to 11, a couple of empty possessions, and it got down to 6. and then they pushed it back up to 11. So it got close, but then they pushed it back up. Being the Showtime Bucks is fun, but you still have to be under control with it.
Yeah.
The 14 turnovers in the second half is, in my mind, inexcusable. 14 turnovers in a game? Sure. In a half? Hell no.
Yeah.
Now, that does only mean that they had 3 in the first half. That's fantastic. I don't expect that to be a consistency, but the Pacers scored 37 points off turnovers, 30 of them in the second half.
Jesus.
That's what's going to keep you in a close game where you were leading by 24 and the lead gets cut to 6.
Yeah.
So the Bucks could have, in my opinion, they could have won this game 140 to 105.
They could have.
If they control those turnovers better.
Yeah.
So we can go to Saturday, and then
Go ahead.
The Hornets again.
Go ahead. You just continue, and then I'll go.
This is where I wrote down that I'm going to start using points per possession to estimate how many points are taken off the board.
Mhm.
With the turnovers, it is what it is. But I want to start keeping track of it. 7 in the first quarter, 7 in the next 3 quarters combined. So it's a bad first quarter and then 3 really good quarters. It's improvement after the first quarter, which is something I appreciate. Only allowed 11 points off turnovers. That's a very good number. That I'm pleased on that front.
Yeah.
3-point shooting, 18 to 37, 48.6%. Love that. Gary Trent had another good game, 4 for 5. AJ Green was 3 for 4. He hit one on an inbound with a hand in his face in the corner. Nuts.
Yeah.
But that high release is going to give him a chance to make every single 3 he shoots and is almost never, ever going to get blocked.
Yep.
Brook Lopez, 3 for 7 from 3. That is a good percentage, even though he missed 4. 3 for 7 is still a solid percentage.
Yep.
Last week, I called for consistency from Brook Lopez with his scoring. In his last 4 games, 27, 21, 11, and 13 points. That is by far his best 4-game stretch this season for his offensive consistency. And then the fourth quarter. And this is unfortunately a trend throughout this whole week for the Bucks to build a big lead and then to have it kind of come down. Now, this is not just an exclusive to the Bucks thing. The Bucks are not the only team that have big leads evaporate quickly. This is an NBA thing.
Oh, yeah.
There is not a single lead in the NBA that is safe. I don't care if it's the Celtics playing the 76ers. A 20-point lead can become a 6-point lead in about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Bucks give up big leads. We've seen them come back from large deficits. So it's not just an exclusive thing to the Bucks. It's something that I understand is going to frustrate fans, but it's just a reality of the NBA. Points can be scored in bunches. Basketball is already a game of runs, and the NBA, it's exaggerated even more because you're talking about the best players to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion is to look at some of the other NBA games, look at other box scores, watch other teams. Big leads going away is not remotely exclusive to the Bucks. When all is said and done, the Hornets only outscored the Bucks by 5 points in the fourth quarter. So it's not like this huge, catastrophic, disappointing lead blowing that people are going to act like it is. Brad said Dame and Giannis pick and roll has gotten better since day one. I strongly agree. That chemistry is chemistrying. I literally commented that on a Bucks thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I started. I just need Bobby Portis to be more efficient. Like I said, I've cooled on wanting to trade him, but he missed a lot of jump hooks and floaters in this game. I don't think all of them are being forced, but I think some of them are being forced, and then just some of them are just kind of missing some open shots. If we have efficient Bobby Portis, we'll get to where I said I think he could be the sixth man of the year winner as one of my bold predictions.
Okay.
I would love to have that version of Bobby, and not the missing floaters and jump hooks. Just trust that the ball is going to find you, Bobby. The ball finds energy. Bobby's made of energy. The ball will find you. Don't have to force anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what stood out to you from the Hornets game?
Well, I got to start this by talking about my boy Gary Trent. 29 points in 48 hours off of catch and shoots. The man was on one.
Damn.
He had 15 against Indy and 14 against Charlotte. He was on one. He was ready. They talk about, bent knees, hands up, ready to shoot. He was ready to shoot. So 4 for 5 for him. 10 of 15 from 3 in 48 hours as well is absolutely insanity. Glad that AJ Green bounced back and was very more efficient making shots. The bench overall 36 points, 17 rebounds, 4 assists, 14 of 27. So you're over 50%. So that's good. And 8 of 14 from 3. Again, if you give me 8 of 14 from 3, I mean, you're going to win a lot of basketball games. That means that the bench plus minus is going to be better because we're getting good defense from the bench, including Bobby. I want to give him credit for that as well. He's been a better team defender overall over the last couple of weeks.
The Bucks as a team, I think their rotations have gotten massively better in the last 10 to 12 days.
Dude, you know how much better they are at switching, bro? Oh, my goodness. It is night and day from last year. Last year, Brook Lopez has been pretty good too. Mm-hmm. Now, he's going to get cooked every once in a while because he's 7 feet tall and he's humongous. But
he looks 285 pounds.
He looks a little quicker. He is leaner. He's only 7% body fat. So for everybody saying that Brook is slow, he's in much better shape than you are sitting on your couch in your living room. I don't care what you say.
Can I chew my own horn on the defense a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Part of what they're not giving up anymore is the little dump off pass to the bigs.
Yeah.
Because I called, oh my God, it makes me feel so smart when stuff I say is true and happens. Because the corner defender comes down to the block. It doesn't allow that pass. Giannis has had like 4 games this season now where he's had like 2 or 3 or 4 blocks because he's there in that position, not guarding the guy who's 2 passes away.
Yeah.
By having that corner defender come down to the block, it takes away the ability for a guard to go up in the air and then drop off a dump off pass to a big for a layup or a dunk.
Yeah.
Teams have not gotten that.
Yeah.
Mama's the Mia when I say stuff and it
Mama's the
true.
Mia.
Man, it makes me feel smart.
In terms of Dame and Giannis, both over 30. Giannis 32-11 and 6. Dame 31-4 and 4. This is the 12th time since they've been teammates that they've both been over 30 points. They had 63, 16, and 10 combined. That's disgusting.
Damn.
The Bucks are 9-3 in games where Dame and Giannis both have 30 points. So good job by them. Also did a good job rebounding back-to-back days, in my opinion. The Charlotte got a couple lucky bounces on some offensive rebounds. Also to survive a 50 ball from LaMelo when it seemed like, dude, he could have chucked it up from the other side of the court, just getting off the bench, and I think it was going to go in because he was on one for a couple minutes stretch there. He is a very fun player. I'm going to say this. If LaMelo was in New York, they would be talking about him as the best point guard in the league, bro. I firmly believe that. The shots that he makes. He's
starting to get some top 5 buzz.
Dude, people forget about him because he's in Charlotte and he's been injured the last couple of years. But, dude, when he does like an escape dribble and goes to a one-legged Dirk fade from like 32 feet, it's like, are you shitting me right now, dude?
He's a horrible defender, but, dude, he's nuts on offense.
Oh, dude, he is insanity. He would be fun in an all-star game.
For sure. I did write it in my notes, respect to LaMelo and to Brandon Miller. I really like Brandon Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, off the one-leg 3 was sick. And just the getting Giannis switched on to him and launching from 40 feet. There's nothing you can do with that, and we have a guy that does it too. So, it's fun when it's us, but it's not fun against us. Tim asked if we see the full court attempt from Jokic the other day.
He just batted at the ball. It was like, how the hell did you –
And it almost went in!
I was like, what?
The NBA is wild.
Dude, Jokic is insane. As much as I kind of have to hate on him just because of the Giannis slander that he gets, and I've talked about this before. I hate that we have to rip people down to push other people up. We can just respect them. Jokic is fun as hell to watch.
And that's the thing. We can respect our opponents. Yes, we still want to beat them, and there's still things as rivalries. But I can respect that other teams have good players. It's not that's impossible to say.
Dude, I love watching Nikola Jokic. He's super fun. He has like a half-inch vertical, and then he still ends up with 40 points. It's impossible.
I think Brandon Miller is going to be good. I really do. I've been telling my dad that since he was drafted. I think he's going to be good. The two of them combined for 82.
Building, dude. They're building something. Miles Bridges has been good since his whole debacle legal stuff has been over too. He's been pretty good too.
I take him or leave him, but LaMelo and Miller scored 82 of their 119 points, and LaMelo had 10 assists, and Brandon Miller had 11 rebounds. Those two carried the Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
So get them some help, and maybe they'll be a playoff team. Maybe 2 years from now, they're where the Magic are, where they're surprising people by making the playoffs, and then they're going to build on it. So I think that's a fair comparison.
I agree.
Anything else you want to say about that before we talk about last night's game?
No, let's talk about last night's game. I got some interesting thoughts on this.
All right, so I'm just going to throw a couple things out, and then we'll talk about the ending and the lead going away again. So actually, I'm going to save 3-point shooting because that I think ties into my point very well.
Okay.
Bucks had 13 turnovers. That's not bad. Miami only had 8 points off turnovers. That is beautiful. Love that. The Miami only had 8 turnovers, not 8 points off. Not 8 points off turnovers. They had 8 turnovers total. My dad said lots of Brandon Miller to sell tonight at 6. My dad will be live on Whatnot. Chick J13, he shouts us out, so I should shout him out. That's fair. But I've been telling my dad to invest in Brandon Miller because he's going to be good. Okay. The turnovers, the points off turnovers, Miami 17, the Bucks 16. So that's a wash. Call that a wash. The only thing on turnovers is we need Andre Jackson Jr. to make smarter passes. There was one time where he came up the floor and he just dribbled and then he left the ball for Dame to come and pick up behind him. Then he tried to do it a second time and it almost got taken away. Then he did it a third time and it did get taken away. That's just one of those things where you just can't assume that Damian Lillard is going to be the next player behind you because Miami saw you bring the ball up the floor twice and do this little leave drop-off pass to Damian Lillard, and they almost got it the second time, and they just went and intercepted it the third time. And then late in the game, Andre Jackson Jr., I think it's not from a place of, I'm not saying he's a stupid player or anything like that. It just comes from a place of wanting to be a playmaker so badly that you try to do too much. Is kind of how I feel about the turnover that he had late in the game. He's just trying to do too much, and he tried to throw a pass into the corner, and 2 Miami Heat players jumped in front of it.
Can I interject on him with the drop-on passes?
Yeah.
This is where people, and I was saying this last night as I was watching this before we went live talking about the Packers. Go watch that if you're interested in the Packers. I was watching this and I was like, oh my God. When Dame is on one, right? And Dame was on one in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about it after the game, knowing that Giannis was out, that he had to come out and be aggressive and score.
Yep.
So he came out and he was aggressive and he was scoring.
Yep.
You have to understand this is where basketball IQ comes into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where when Brooke was out and Bobby was in, and Bobby wasn't basketball IQ last night either. They brought Brooke back in when they were playing zone. We were struggling with Miami zone, and Brooke Lopez comes in and he shows his basketball IQ. This is where basketball IQ can take a step up for Andre Jackson Jr. You got to understand that when Dame is on one, they're not just going to let him spank them all night, dude. Right. They're going to change defensive coverages. They're going to start, face guarding him. They're going to start picking him up full court. And that's the stuff that they were doing to try to take him out of his rhythm because he was cooking, dude.
And that's the other thing that I said with the other thing I said with Andre Jackson Jr. is I have no problem with him bringing the ball up the floor when there's a situation where there's a long rebound. If you get a long rebound and you have a chance to go in transition, go.
Yeah, 100%.
But when you catch a rebound and Damian Lillard is standing right next to you, give the ball to Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I mean
that's not a point where you need to bring the ball across half court and then try to drop off pass. Just give it to him right now, right next to you. They literally almost ran into each other on the one that he had the turnover on. He's right here. Just hand him the ball.
Yeah,
that guy's got 37. Give him the ball.
I agreed.
To start the game, Damian Lillard and Ajax were all over the place. Damian Lillard was hitting tons of shots, found Ajax going towards the basket. Ajax stole an inbound. He blocked Jimmy Butler off the backboard. Damian Lillard also got an ISO on Tyler Hero, and Tyler Hero was trying to back him down from just inside the three-point line down to the paint. Damian Lillard stole the ball from him. So all this, Damian Lillard doesn't play defense. He's not a traffic cone. He's not a chair like people think he is. He's not a good defender, but he's an active defender.
He at least tries to get hands in the passing lanes. I'll give him credit for that.
So that's that. Is there anything before we talk about the lead dwindling and the final seconds before we wrap that?
No, I think I just have some. I just have some things for after when we're about to wrap it up.
Okay. Let's just jump into that, and I'm going to start with the three-point shooting. Because, again, there's a scenario where the Bucks, they built a 22-point lead. And over the rest of the third quarter, Miami went on a 26-9 run. Now, the Bucks were able to build a large lead. I think they were up 15 at halftime, something around there. And it's because they shot 13 of 21 from three in the first half. They were only 7 of 21 in the second half. You look at it overall, that's 20 of 42. That's 47.6%. That's wonderful. But they built their lead off of shooting very well in the first half. Just because they shot well in the first half does not mean that they can guarantee that they're going to shoot well in the second half, especially over the long term. That's the law of large numbers. The law of large numbers says if you shoot, 6 threes over your percentage in the first half, that you'll shoot about 6 threes under your average percentage in the second half. That's how the law of large numbers works, is that the larger the sample size, the closer to the average you get. That's how averages work. So yes, there will be some games where the Bucks will shoot 13 of 20 in the first half and 13 of 20 in the second half, and they'll make 26 threes in a game. That's absolutely going to happen at some point. But you cannot expect it to happen in the second half just because it happened in the first half. Mm-hmm. Jake just mentioned defensive adjustments. If the Bucks are lighting it up from the three-point line, do you not think that Eric fucking Spoelstra is going to be like, hey, we should probably not let them get as many open looks from the three-point line?
I mean, look at how the Bucks were attacking them in the first half. They were running them off the three-point line. We were hitting threes and we were running them off threes. That's how we built the lead.
So for me, it came to three things. One, we just talked about no lead being safe in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the crazy three-point shooting is not sustainable for the long term. There will be some games, and those are going to be the outliers. Three, Miami's coached by Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the NBA. This team was never going to go away, especially when they know that we don't have Giannis playing to take over a game if they get close. So this Miami team was never going to go away. I don't care that people are going to complain about the Bucks blowing another big lead. Please get it through your head that no lead in the NBA is safe. And no teams are going to be like, no, yeah, we'll just let you have this one. The three-point line and the positionless basketball and everybody shooting threes, it makes it so that leads can be closed. It makes it so that every game is competitive to the final minutes. That's what the NBA wants. That's what we as fans should want.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes, blowing teams out is fun, but being competitive, I get more invested.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if there's a game where the Bucks are up by 25 points with 4 minutes left and they're emptying the bench, I'm less invested than I am if this game gets into the last 3 minutes and 44 seconds and it's a tie game. I'm much more invested in that close game.
Oh, yeah.
So, Miami, I will say I do think they got the benefit of the whistle. I didn't look at what the final free throw tallies were, but I'm willing to bet it was quite lopsided.
We shot 17, they shot 30.
Okay. So almost double. Love that for us. Just in general, I mean, Taurean Prince did a good job to make his 2 free throws at the end of the game to kind of ice it. They missed the shot with 1.2 seconds left. Wins are wins, my guy. Like, they don't ask how, they ask how many. Cry to your mom about leads being blown. It's going to happen to everybody. The Bucks are going to do it to other teams. It's happening between other teams that the Bucks aren't playing against basically every night. It happens to the Celtics. The Bucks did it to the Celtics.
Yeah.
The Celtics did it to the Bucks. Like, it's going to happen every night in the NBA that somebody's going to be up double digits and then it's going to be a close game. Just be happy that happened with the Bucks multiple times this week and they won all of the games that it happened.
Yep.
Because wins are the thing that matter the most. And the Bucks, after winning last night, are back to 500. They're up to the 4 seed in the East, I believe. Yes, because now they're ahead of Miami. So, no, they are 5 because it's Cleveland, Boston, Orlando, New York, and then the Bucks. And New York is 10-7, and the Bucks are 9-9.
Yep.
So 3 weeks ago, the Bucks were 14th in the NBA or in the Eastern Conference, and now they're 5th.
Yep.
So just a couple weeks, man, the things can change, and we can post that we think the Bucks are going to go on a run, and people are going to be like, "It's a homer post. Say what you really want to say." We know what we're talking about. Like, I'm not going to say that we're better than other people, but we know what we're talking about at the end of the day.
100%.
Your ending thoughts on the game from last night?
So I'm glad you brought up Prince hitting those 2 free throws. I also want to give credit to AJ Green. He hit back-to-back cold-blooded threes when Miami pulled within 1-2 times.
Would have been 3 of them.
He almost hit 3, right? He said, you thought, bitch. Just smacked him, bro. And it was just like, oh, man. I saw a reaction video of a Heat fan reacting to AJ Green. He's like, who the hell is this guy? I'm like, yep. You are
Dude, the step back that he hit, I saw somebody comment on, I don't know if it was the same reaction or not, but somebody said AJ Green hitting that step back was diabolical.
No, it wasn't the same one. So Bucks moved to 3-0 in NBA Cup play. That's awesome. 7-0 in group play overall. So good job by them in the 2 years that this has existed. I think the Bucks did a really, really nice job of taking the jabs that the Heat were kind of sending us. I don't know why my son is going crazy like that upstairs, but I'm going to beat him in about 10 minutes. They did a nice job taking jabs from the Heat and then finding a way to deliver the knockout punch. Miami was never able to get over the hump and throw that knockout punch. The Bucks did a nice job eating some jabs and putting them to bed. Dame tied AI for 9th most games with 35 points and 10 assists, his 30th overall. Do you know who has the lead in those such games?
35 points, 10 assists?
Yes.
This might be out of pocket, but I feel like it's Russell Westbrook.
Oscar Robertson.
Dang it. That's what I should have guessed. I was between those two. Damn it. And I thought I was going to be like smart, but all right.
121.
Damn.
121 of those bitches, dog.
Wow.
A hooper. Brook Lopez became the all-time leader for now until Victor Wembanyama takes it over with games of 3+ blocks and 3+ threes at 43. So that's great by Brook Lopez, a guy.
He'll be second of all time in that list someday.
Yeah, he will. He completely changed his game, became a good defender, stretched his game. So lengthened his career and made a lot more money for it as well. Got a title out of it. So good job by Brook Lopez. Happy for him. Damian Lillard scored 37 last night. That was the second most points by a Bucks player against Miami in the regular season ever.
Damn.
The most points by a Buck in the regular season was 38 by Mo Williams on February 3rd, 2007. So Dame was 1 point away from tying a Bucks record in season. So Mo Williams,
that's probably the only record in Bucks history that Mo Williams holds.
That and the hairiest shoulders of all time.
Oh man! All right, so the Bucks have 2 games between now and next Wednesday. They play Saturday against Washington and Tuesday at Detroit. So hopefully we're talking about 2 more wins and a 7-game winning streak for the Bucks. That would be fantastic. We appreciate everybody who hung around for the whole 2-hour show that this became. We're in that transition period where football is getting close to the end of the season and basketball is getting going. And like I said, when we were talking about the Badgers basketball team as well, hopefully Jake and I are able to pump out a little bit more content as Badger football comes to an end. And that's one less team that we're preparing notes for every week. But again, we appreciate everybody who sticks around throughout the entire thing, commenting along. Justin, Brad, Tim, Dad, we appreciate all the comments. We will see you guys next Wednesday and the next Tuesday for the Packers recap. And Jake, have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy the game, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe.